Today is what Donald Trump is calling Liberation Day, the day the US imposes sweeping tariffs on trade with other countries, effectively starting a global trade war. And we'll find out this afternoon exactly what the tariffs will be that we're going to face ourselves. We're thinking it's probably a 20% tariff on everything we, the UK, sell to the US because Trump says no exceptions. Then 25% tariffs on particular things, cars, steel, aluminium, which have already been announced. And he's going ahead with those too. My goodness, Phil, you studied economics, so you're worried about this.
This President Trump has basically declared war on the rest of the world and half of his own people. That's a trade war, but still a war on, and the consequences for the rest of the planet and for half his own people. Tariffs hit poor people much harder because poor people tend to buy clothes which are cheap imports, and they will go up, and electronics.
Is there any upside?
His economics is, if it works, the guy should get the Nobel Prize for economics, but it won't work.
Sure.
I mean,
to take an example, Phil, let's say there's a tariff on denim now. So if you're buying jeans from France, which is where denim traditionally came from, it costs more, denim. Would it then not be the case that in America, someone will say, I know what, I'm going to set up a denim factory?
If you want Levi's, they make them in China. For a tenth of the price than they're going to make them in America. And that's why the terms of trade works, because that's why free trade works. And free trade has made all of us richer since the end of World War II.
But Trump says free trade has stolen our jobs. And even by your description, of course, if you've got all the jeans are being made by China, it has taken the jobs.
Well, it was interesting that yesterday someone at the White House made a comment from his press office and said, you know, very bullishly, the days of America being ripped off are over. So they're going
ripped off with cheap goods coming in.
Well, I mean, whatever they think is happening, but closer to home, it is going to affect us. 25,000 car manufacturers are at risk here. Rachel Reeves' budget last week, it's finished now. Whatever she said was going to happen is not going to happen now. The sliver of headroom that she had has now disappeared. Banks like Goldman Sachs, they're now downgrading our growth. Goldman Sachs said it was going to be 1.6% this year. They're now saying it's 0.8% growth. So, it is going to be catastrophic for us. And Starmer currently is working on a new list of concessions to show Starmer.
Concessions? He's just rolled over, hasn't he? Well, don't you want him to be more like Mark Carney, more bullish, more muscular?
Starmer? He's not going to be. He hasn't got an enemy. He's the worst.
Have a look. We'll come back to that. Have a look at. So I'm just going to show you a clip from the States where you've got one of the Fox News presenters who's called Harris Faulkner, who's a massive Trump fan, and she's basically saying, from their perspective, it's almost like a war. And when she refers to the 410 people, these are people who are basically pensioners, because that's what they call their pension schemes. So have a look at this.
And those 401k people who are depending, those retirees, all of that, just talking plain speak with them. Look, when this nation used to go to war, people in this country would support the war effort with their materials at home and making things for weaponry and all of that. We got to do 100% buy-in over this bumpy period. Just communicate.
I mean, that's kind of war talk there. So 410k people are pensioners. That's a funny way to refer to them. And then saying we need 100% buy-in. In other words, everyone's got to get behind the president and really make this work. Won't it work then, Phil?
It doesn't work because if it's cheaper to buy, let's think of whiskey and rum. Where's the best place to produce whiskey?
Scotland.
In Scotland. Where's the best place to produce rum?
Jamaica.
In the Caribbean, and that's why it's much cheaper. It's not necessarily even about staff wages. It sometimes is, but it's just cheaper to make certain things in certain countries. It's just a fact of economics and materials, and basically that's why free trade works, because you buy the stuff. We produce whiskey, they produce rum. They produce cheap Levi's, and America produces... and that's how
you obviously agree on a lot of this.
Works.
What about Phil's point, though,
richer.
that Starmer's done this thing, he's gone over to the White House, he's given him a letter from the King, he was sweetness and light, it hasn't worked. And now he has to do what Carney's doing, which is to say, from now on, we can't rely on you.
This is a leader who has no backbone, who has no...
Starmer.
Starmer, who has no backbone. He has no ideas. He has no idea how to handle a man like Trump. He just doesn't know. And so he's a pushover. He's weak. He's always been weak. It's what we said before, he was elected. And yet still people voted him in. I mean, I still can't quite believe it. And he has shown to be a weak leader. And I think he's floundering with someone like Trump. He's not going to say anything aggressive to him. He's not going to be bullish with him because he's terrified of the consequences.
But haven't we offered some concessions like on chlorinated chicken and things like that?
Well, maybe, but
that doesn't work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work because Trump doesn't want to have an announcement where he says the whole world is being tariffed, except for the UK.
Yes. Well, let's hit him where you had a great idea yesterday, which is when he comes here for his royal visit, all the other royals are busy. The only one available is Prince Andrew. So
that's silly.
It
is silly.
Serious yesterday.
It's hitting him where it hurts. It's using Prince Andrew as a weapon.
It's making him. It's not. It's making him angry with us, and how else
he would see
then
through
punish
it. He would know he'd been snubbed.
Yes.
Look,
fine.
I don't know how diplomacy works, but Starmer got a lot of praise at the start for not rubbing him up the wrong way. Look at what happened when Zelensky went there and did a couple of firm words, and he got completely toasted. So, and I don't know how we deal with it. I don't know what we do.
You stand up to a bully.
Can we not just say, right, from now on, we're on our own. We've done Brexit, for better or worse.
Well, we're not on our own. We're with the rest of the world because this president has declared war on the rest of the world. We stand together.
Well, then in that case, I tell you what, this is the moment, it just occurs to me, where we start to knock up 3 or 4 great trade deals, maybe even with the EU.
Yes.
Maybe with Canada and Australia. We say, let's do them in a day or in a year, because this EU trade deal is going to take the rest of our lives.
How about we do one with Trump?
He's not going to accept it, is he?
But I think.
What do we say? We'll give you some whiskey.
Before he became president, he was making the right noises about doing a trade deal with us.
We had 4 years to give us a trade deal. What did he give us? Nothing.
No, he didn't then. But he was talking very favourably about it before he came into government.
He said when Obama said you'd be at the back of the queue, he said you'd be at the front of the queue. What did he give us? Nothing. Can we trust this man? No.
Okay, after the break, we'll move on. Gosh, there's so much to say on Trump. We'll find out today the actual details of what Trump is saying. Trump doesn't do much in the mornings in the state. The commentators say he doesn't like to get out of bed much before 10 or 11. So the flurry always comes at lunchtime and then particularly in the early evening.
When he's had a drink.
Well, no, he doesn't drink. He doesn't drink.